So now it's time for me to talk about conditional sentences and how we can actually identify them and use them in context. I understand that many people have heard of them before, but not many actually know how to use them. So in my presentation, I will be explaining all different types of conditionals and providing you with a lot of examples. So are you ready? Very good, so let's begin. So what's a conditional sentence? A conditional sentence is strictly compounded by two clauses. One of them is independent, which means that it can actually stand alone with an independent meaning, and a dependent clause, which cannot stand alone and has no real meaning. So there are like four different types of conditional sentences: zero, first, second, third, and mixed. I will be teaching each one of them individually. A conditional sentence, as I mentioned before, must be compounded by two clauses. The first one, the dependent clause, is called the if clause, which is basically the condition. The second clause is an independent clause, and it's called the result. So now let's take a closer look at each one of them individually, and I would like to start by explaining the zero conditional. The zero conditional, we use it when the relationship between the situation and the result is always true or always the same. So there is like no element of chance or doubt. We can also use two past tenses to talk about something that always used to be true. And finally, informally, we can use the structure when a first conditional would be more appropriate in a formal situation. So here's our first example. Our first example corresponds to zero conditional, so let's take a look at that. If we lose a contract, we are in trouble. Please notice that I am using simple present in both clauses. So that means that there is no element of chance, like there is no doubt. This actually happens. This is like a regular activity. This is the purpose of zero conditional, to establish situations that are obvious or facts. Very well, so as you can see, zero conditional was pretty easy. We need to use in both clauses simple present or simple past. When we do that, you understand that the situation is always true or is always the same. In the case of first conditional, the situation changes a little. We basically use first conditional when the situation is more likely to happen. It's more probable to happen. We need to use, again, in the if clause, simple present. And in the result, we need to use the simple future. That would be like the correct structure. But also, I can use present continuous or present perfect in the if clause. And not only simple future in the result, I can also use some other modal verbs, such as may, might, could, etc. The meaning can change a little according to the modal verb that we are using, so I will be explaining this difference later on. Do you remember that we could not only use simple present, but also present continuous or present perfect on the if clause? Well, let's take a look at some examples. Actually, my first example corresponds to the original structure of a first conditional sentence, which is a combination of simple present and simple future, meaning that the situation is more likely to happen. But if I want to change this a little, and instead of using the simple present, well, I want to use the present continuous, that is possible. The meaning won't be affected. Please notice that in this case, I am using a combination of present continuous, and the simple future one more time. The meaning is the same. A situation that is more likely to happen. Okay, let's change that one more time. And remember, we have like different options. In this occasion, I want to use the present perfect. And instead of using will, which is like the most common modal verb, well, I want to use may. Remember, we have already checked this before. May, we use it for possibilities. So in this case, well, the meaning can change a little. If Sarah has broken her leg, you may have to stay longer. It's only a possibility. Remember, the difference between using will and may is that will, we use it when we are certain. Remember, when we are like 95, 100% sure about the situation. And we can use may or might when it's like 50-50. So is that clear? Very well. So now that we have understood what a first conditional sentence is, I would like to move on and explain second conditional. We can use second conditional for situations that are hypothetical or imaginary. That means that in this case, the situation is less likely to happen. We can also use second conditional to make suggestions, offers, or even warnings. And the most common modal verbs that we can use for second conditional are may, might, and could. How do we form a second conditional sentence? We need two clauses. We need the if clause and the result. In this case, for the second conditional sentence, I need to use the simple past on my if clause. And I can use a variety of modal verbs on my second clause. Those modal verbs are may, might, could, and even would. And as you can see right here, this is a hypothetical situation. It's an imaginary situation. Obviously, you didn't win the lottery. You didn't win it. So basically, you cannot buy a new house. But what happens if you won the lottery? So we are just like imagining this situation. That is the difference, like the main difference between first and second conditional. First conditional, we use it for real situations. They are more likely to happen. But the second conditional, we use it for this kind of imaginary situations, things that are unreal. So is that clear? That is the main difference. Now, I would like to draw your attention to third conditional. We use third conditional to talk about past situations, actions that we did or didn't do, and now they have consequences. Those consequences are also known as regret or remorse. Modal verbs are also used in third conditional sentences, but in past. So very well, the structure for a third conditional sentence would go like this. Remember, again, we need to use two clauses, the if clause and the result. I need to use past perfect on my first clause, and then a modal verb in past on my second clause. So when I do this, I am trying to express regret or remorse about a situation that I did or did not do in the past. In this occasion would be, okay, obviously I didn't call you, so that's why I didn't get the job. Remorse or regret. That's exactly what we use third conditional for. Okay guys, we're almost there. Believe me, I know that I've been giving you a lot of information on conditionals. I mean more specifically 0, first, second, and third conditionals. But let me tell you that we have two more. These are also known as mixed conditionals. And without any further ado, let me explain the first one. It is possible to use the if clause of a second conditional with the result clause of a third conditional sentence. If you cared more, you have been promoted. So, right there I am saying, I am talking about a present imagined situation with an imagined past situation or result. The second mixed conditional would be, okay, like this. So we use the if clause of a third conditional with the result clause of a second conditional. If I had got the job, I would be commuting for hours. Here we are talking about a past imagined situation with an imagined present result. I know, it's a lot of information. Well, so that's all I have to say about conditional sentences, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or any doubts, send me an email or a private message in Google Classroom, and I'll do my best so I can answer you and I can reply to each and every question you may have, okay? So thank you very much, and well, see you next time. Bye-bye.